Mr. Chairman, Ranking Member Meeks, distinguished colleagues.
And now, tragically, more than 3 years after this administration's disastrous withdrawal, you're finally here to take responsibility. It's expired. Let me just say, with the fall of Afghanistan.
First of all, let me just say I have very much appreciated working with you these past 4 years, working with the ranking member. I think we've done good and important things together.
Antony Blinken, Secretary of Genocide, butcher of Bangla.
258, we have a disruption.
Remind the audience members, disruption of committee proceedings is against the law.
I want to recognize everyone who served in Afghanistan, including on this committee. Our thoughts are with the Gold Star families of the 2,461 American service members, as well as State Department and USAID employees.
Stop killing kids in Gaza. Like you. I have young kids. You're a father. I don't know how. You can sleep at night when you're killing so many kids.
250-টিরও বেশি ডিজাইন অপশন নিয়ে ওয়ালটন স্মার্ট ফ্রিজ বোঝে আপনার প্রয়োজন।
I'm also deeply grateful to the dedicated professionals from the State Department, from the Defense Department, from across the government, from civil society, other partners who did so much to support the people of Afghanistan over those 2 decades.
You scum! The blood of your victims.
To order. Committee will suspend while the Capitol Police restore order. Committee will come to order.
Despite the profound effects of the Doha Agreement, President Biden ultimately opted to implement the previous administration's decision to withdraw American troops and honor his pledge to end our nation's longest war. To the extent President Biden faced a choice, it was between ending the war or escalating it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
In the 3 years since the end of our country's longest war, all of us, including myself, have wrestled with what we could have done differently during that period and over the preceding 2 decades.
Sorrow for your loss, and one of those was Corporal Humberto Sanchez from.
That you had plenty of opportunity to plan for the inevitable collapse of Afghanistan. Instead, even with the warning bells sounding loudly, ringing loudly, you denied the imminent and dangerous threats to American interest, American citizens, and our decade-long Afghan partners. All the while, the Taliban captured province after province on their march to Kabul.
Military community in the country, and my community has borne the cost of this 20-year.
You personally read this, sir, and cleared it. Your Deputy Secretary, Brian McKeon, testified before this committee that you took no step to answer the cries for help. And as you know, Secretary of State, you have a responsibility to protect Americans and diplomats.
Mr. Chairman, that's incorrect.
Why did you ignore the cries for help? Why did you leave this embassy open? And finally, who was in charge? Was it you or Mr. Sullivan? Because it seems to me you delegated all your responsibility on this. You had very little to do with it, and it was Jake Sullivan and the National Security Council at the White House calling all the shots. However, under law, sir, you're the captain of the ship.
It's about the Sudan, but because
But to legislate moving forward, I need to know who was in charge, and that's why it is so important that Mr. Sullivan, the National Security Advisor, come before this committee and give his testimony about what the hell was going on during this disastrous evacuation.
In your perspective and helping address the questions of the committee.